Okay, moving now to agenda item number 2, which is confirmation of the council minutes of the 27th of March 2012. They go through to, firstly I'll call for any amendments or alterations to those minutes. There being none, I will ask for a mover, please, to the minutes. Councillor Johnson, Councillor Hickling, all those in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Any matters, discussion arising from those minutes? One query for me, if I may. Resolution 4873, page 5, 2/5. The resolution that we write to the chairman and invite Te Whātua Māori Trust to a forum. Have we had time for a reply or?
We are still in the process of arranging that because we want to actually hand the letter to the board chair, and also there's a new chief executive for the board. So I understand he's actually going to start, Dylan, in is it 2 weeks' time?
We've had confirmation for the
30th. Yeah. Okay. So it's certainly in train, and we'll get a date as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms McLeod. Moving now to the unconfirmed Turangi-Tongariro Community Board meeting of the 10th of April 2012. Any amendments to that? Nothing? A mover, please.
I'll move part 1 of the unconfirmed minutes. Part 2, which says as a recommendation, is in fact a resolution by the board to make a submission to the long-term plan.
Right. And a seconder, please. Councillor Henderson. I'm sorry.
So that number 2 is just struck out.
Yep. So seconded, Councillor Henderson. All those in favour?
Aye.
Any matters arising? Being none, fine. Moving on to item number 4, which is the unconfirmed again Taupo Airport Authority minutes held on the 28th of March 2012. A mover, please. Councillor Johnson, seconded myself. Any questions, discussions? Anyone would like to know about the airport TAA minutes?
Just
yes, Councillor
same one, Mayor, just the progress on the Wellington landing times and stuff. We
haven't had a report back as to where the flights will be shifted to, but we do have a meeting with Carrie Hururangi, I think is how you pronounce her second name, who's one of the head ladies from Air New Zealand. Is it next Thursday, Councillor Johnson? Or this Thursday? Might be this Thursday.
This Thursday.
We definitely have a meeting either this Thursday or next Thursday with her, where she's coming to bring us news, and I won't put any words in front of that. So as soon as I know, I will definitely let you all know by email if there's any change to reduce flights, increase flights, or change of times. Okay, if there's nothing there, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Lake Taupo Protection Trust, these are unconfirmed, non-confidential portions of the minutes. So I'll ask for a mover, please. I wasn't, well, Councillor Henderson was there. I was not present, but I can still second them. And do you wish, Ms McLeod, do you wish to comment on these minutes at all?
Just to draw to Councillor's attention that we have to go through a process of reappointing the trustees, but the trust can have between 6 and 8 members, and the decision was to actually, in the end, with the retiring trustees, to reappoint all of them, but the date of the next review has been brought forward, so it'll be no later than the 31st of December 2013, and that's in recognition of the fact that the trust is making extremely good progress with their purchases, and they don't expect to require the higher number of trustees, so we are going to be looking to review earlier.
Does anyone have any questions on that or clarifications regards that? Councillor Downard?
Just when you reappoint your trustees, is it if the trustee can't stand again, or do you advertise for a trustee? Or
no, they can stand again.
So is it a full conclusion that they get reappointed, or do you go out to the public to see who else is?
That's something that the committee looks at and decides. And in this particular case, they decided that the skill set that was there on the matched the needs of the job to be done, because there's a mix of skills from accountancy through to legal, agriculture, and so that the joint committee decided that there were to be 4 trustees that were to retire by rotation, one of whom the trustees themselves had to do a straw poll on. They discussed it, and it was decided to reappoint the existing trustees.
For what period did we reappoint? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just to follow on that, Your Worship, that's the part that I didn't understand, is if they fall into that category of having to retire through rotation,
they can be reappointed, and it is up to the joint committee to decide on whether or not they are actually going to go out and recall for new trustees.
Why have a rotation for retirement?
The original reason for that was to ensure that there was new blood coming through, if necessary, and I'd have to say that the trust has managed to get through the job a lot quicker than what was originally anticipated.
Thank you.
It needs to be, I think, appreciated and noted that I haven't got them in front of me, but they're in other figures I've got, that committee members don't get remuneration. Trustees are remunerated. It's a remunerated position, but the committee feels has been working extremely well, and it's proven in the graph. I think somewhere there's a graph about where the target was, and they're way ahead of their target. I think they're sitting at the moment on about 120 tonnes of nitrogen removed, and in the at the beginning when this was all set up, we were at this stage we were only supposed to be at about 80 tonnes. So they've far exceeded expectations at the moment, so it was felt that the skill set was good. And your question about why the rotation, that's there if the committee felt that it would be a good thing to use to replace people, but at this stage the committee were unanimous in supporting them. Councillor Henderson also sits on Lake Taupo Protection Trust, so Councillor Henderson.
Just in response to Councillor Downer, just a bit of explanation. Bottom of page 5/4. As it states, will be reviewed at an earlier date in anticipation that the project's future goals will evolve and change. So the committee has still retained the option of changing those trustees prior to the next rotation. And I think a lot of the thinking was along the lines of the project's at a pretty delicate stage at the moment, particularly with funding, and there's some negotiations going on with government. So it was felt by the group that maintaining those through this period, the trustees, without changing them, was probably a better option in the interim anyway. But as I point out, the option's there to change that prior to the next rotation.
Okay, cool. No further questions or clarification from the Lake Taupo Protection Trust. I will put the motion that to be received. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Moving now to agenda item number 6 is a road signs maintenance tender for roadside maintenance for the district. Mr. Manhattan, do you wish to comment on this or take it as read?
Take it as read.
And I'll open up for any questions for any councillors. $298,000 something, Councillor Mincher.
Just to clarify to me, Alan, that obviously the engineer's estimate's almost double what the tender prices come in at. Just what's the difference here? How's that worked? Is that a minimum price we're paying out, and that we can go up to that higher amount, or what's that based on?
No, the engineer's estimate was based on the sign prices obtained from a sign manufacturer. Since then, the market's become a lot tighter, and that's a fixed price for the signs, so there's no room to move.
That's for the tender that we're looking to that's been submitted. So yes. That's a fixed price. So if work goes above and beyond that, that's still a fixed price.
Correct.
So to clarify and to extrapolate on Councillor Mincher, so any sign that's faded, damaged, had bullet holes in them, run over by motor cars, or need replacing, gets done for that price.
It's based on the signs that sat within that original tender document. So there was a list of.
And is that
signs.
all the signs of the district, or is there some left out of this tender document?
That's the signs as stated in the tender document.
Which we haven't got a copy of.
No, but that can be made available.
That's why I'm just asking the question. Is that all the signs of the district, or is it just the CBD, or is it just Turangi, or is it...
It's
all the district signs.
Road signs.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Your Worship, can I ask, I can't see Mr Menton or Mr Lewis here, but has the takeover of the State Highway 1 been factored into this? Because there's going to be a huge number of signs that we're going to be responsible for once we have that extra 20k or 16k of roadway.
Yes, I believe it has been included.
Okay.
Councillor Johnson.
Has this contract ever been run in-house? If you think the signs are being replaced and then it's a person running around putting them up or changing them,
No.
but we've contracted out. Has it ever been an in-house duty
We've never resourced ourselves internally to do signage.
to change the sign? Okay.
And that's a similar approach that we're taking to the branding and the rebranding of the building and our vehicles, etc. That was also outsourced.
Councillor Kirk.
I was just wondering, usually with these, when we see these tender contract council agenda items, they itemise all three, like all tenderers and their amounts of their tenders. I was just wondering why we just have the recommended tenderer details here and not all three.
I can't comment on that. It's a fair question, and I wasn't around when the papers were put together, but I can advise you separately as to who the other parties were.
They should. Having said that, Mr Menhena, they are of public interest. This is a public meeting, a public agenda. They should always be printed. It's got rather. It just seems to have got. Don't take too, but it just seems to have got rather lax that all of a sudden they're not on there.
Your Worship.
Sorry, Mr Hector, Councillor Hector.
The following tender, surprisingly enough, have got the 3 tenders listed. Pardon?
I think it's just missing. It's a print miss
No,
because it's number
don't
6 to number 7. There's a gap.
They're just listed.
Well, I think we just need to note it in the minutes that tenders should include all the tenderers. Okay, so that's one point. Directions, I suppose that's how you say it. Is that a local company or?
I'm unaware of who Direction is.
And do we still use the tendering process where we've got a policy where we have some percentage of weighting towards local tenderers? Do we still use that policy?
It was evaluated according to our lowest price conforming tender method. So
all the councillors around this table here from time to time go public places and have a beer and get their ear chewed because, not as big as down there, but get their ears chewed because some out-of-firm company got a contract and they didn't, and local employment and things like that. So, yeah, they're just questions I think that councillors, including myself, like to ask and have a little bit of more information on. But however, Councillor Minchin's got his hand up.
Another question, Alan. It's another 5-year tender. The last one was a 5-year. Just that it doesn't say how many years it is here.
It just says 15.
3 years.
So it's 3.
3. 3.
And just my other question around it. So, do we have what we were budgeting for in the last few years, so we can compare to see like whether we're saving money going forward or where we sat with the last?
This is cheaper going forward than the previous one. We also, in agreeing to the tender, have to comply with some NZTA requirements. Because
is this funded from NTA on a percentage basis? Because some of these roads in the district, when I asked the question before, and Tina said it's for the whole district, but my mind straight away goes, well, some of those roads are state highways.
If it's a road that is deemed to be a state highway, yes, we do get a subsidy from NZTA.
So how did the engineer's estimate come up at 543,000? Because I'm picking up on what Councillor Minch is saying here. That must have been retrospective or historic in some way, shape or form.
Based on the previous contract and the indication of prices from the sign manufacturer, that was where the engineer set their estimate before they went to the market to get interest in the tender.
Okay, does anybody have anything further? If they don't, I will ask for a mover, and I have one, Councillor Downard, and ask for a seconder, Councillor Minsher, or that tender be received, excluding GST, $298,594. It's actually a 3-year contract. Did I hear you say 5 before?
The previous one.
Previous was 5, that's why I wasn't quite sure.
I see, thank you. Okay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Moving now to agenda item